This is a Squiz podcast. We're your shortcut to being informed.
Squiz Kids! It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Hello there and welcome to Squiz Kids, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Bryce Corbett. It's Monday, June 7. In Squiz Kids today, vaccinating the world. Cambodia's hero rat retires. The second fastest woman in the world. And meet the dancing lemurs. That's what's making news, kids style.
The lowdown.
It was all about sending COVID vaccines to where they're needed most yesterday, both here in Australia and around the world, as the race continued to get on top of the pesky pandemic. The Australian government announced that 330,000 COVID vaccines would be sent to Victoria to help the state contain the recent outbreak that has sent Melbourne into the second week of its fourth lockdown. So sorry, guys. While overseas, the UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson called on the world's richest countries to make sure the poorest countries didn't miss out on COVID vaccines. It's called vaccine equity, and as the name suggests, it's all about making sure the distribution of vaccines is equal around the world. And it will be a big topic of conversation at a big meeting of world leaders happening in England at the end of this week. The meeting is called the G7, which is short for the Group of Seven, as in 7 of the world's wealthiest countries, namely Canada, France, Germany, Italy, Japan, the United Kingdom and the United States. They get together once a year to talk about the most important problems facing the world. And, as well as the pandemic, this year the talk will be about climate change. Australia's been invited to attend, along with India, South Korea and South Africa. And our Prime Minister Scott Morrison will fly to England later this week. Flying to England, where it's now officially summer, is something that sounds quite pleasant, especially given the polar blast that's going to be hitting southeast Australia this week. Weather forecasters are predicting that even parts of southern Queensland will get a light dusting of snow this week, as a large mass of freezing cold air pushes up from Antarctica across Tassie, Victoria and into New South Wales. Rug up, people.
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a news story from wherever it stops. And today we've landed in Cambodia in Southeast Asia, where Magawa, the mine-sniffing rat, is going into retirement. Many years ago, Cambodia was caught up in a war, and during that war, lots of landmines were buried. Landmines are explosives that sit below the surface of the ground and go off when someone stands on them. They're really nasty, and they've caused many thousands of dreadful injuries to people in war-torn countries around the world. Magawa, the African giant pouched rat, was trained especially to sniff out landmines so that people could find them before they hurt anyone. In much the same way you might have seen sniffer dogs at airports sniffing for stuff in people's suitcases they're not supposed to have. Well, Magawa's been doing it for 5 years, and in that time she's sniffed out landmines in an area of land equivalent to 20 soccer fields, making large parts of the country of Cambodia once again safe for its citizens to walk on or use as farming land. What a clever rat, and what a well-deserved retirement. There's a link in today's episode notes to a photo of Magawa.
Sport time.
What is it about those Jamaican athletes and speed? Jamaica's Shelly-Ann Fraser-Pryce became the second fastest woman ever at the weekend by running the 100 metres in 10.63 seconds. Only one woman has ever run the 100 metres faster than that. American track legend Florence Griffith Joyner, whose record of 10.49 seconds still stands more than 30 years after she set it. Fraser-Pryce, who won 100-metre gold at the 2008 and 2012 Olympics, will now go into the Tokyo Olympics as the one to beat in the event that stops the world. Of course, the fastest man in the world, with a 100-metre sprint time of 9.58 seconds, is fellow Jamaican Usain Bolt. They sure do breed 'em fast in Jamaica.
Animal Kingdom.
Because it's a Monday, and because a whole bunch of you in Melbourne are in lockdown and need some light relief, we proudly bring you news of a pair of dancing lemurs who have sent the internet into meltdown over the weekend. The two lemurs, called Beatrice and Elliot, are the newest arrivals at Chester Zoo in England. And by the looks of the video of them dancing, they're pretty excited about their new enclosure. Dancing lemurs are a type of lemur native to Madagascar, which, as well as being an excellent animated film starring Melman, who is easily my favourite, is also a great big island off the coast of Africa. Now, this particular dancing species of lemur is called a sifaka, and they're currently an endangered species. There's a link to the video in today's episode notes, guaranteed to put a smile on your dial.
My lockdown life.
Okay, Melbourne kids, what have you got on for today? I'll tell you what, you're going to take 5 minutes to record your answers to the 5 new questions we've stuck in today's episode notes to have your voice heard on this week's episode of My Lockdown Life. This is your chance to let the rest of Australia know what it's like to be in your 4th lockdown. What's the worst part about lockdown? What's the best part? Who in your house is doing it toughest? What are your top tips to pass the time? And what's the one place you'd rather be right now? So, how do you take part? It's easy. Check out the 5 questions in the episode notes today, record your answers, and email them through to squizkids@thesquiz.com.au, and then be listening all week to see if you've been featured.
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. What's the name of the group of wealthy countries meeting in England later this week? That's right, it's the G7. Question number 2. In which country has Magawa, the mine-sniffing rat, been busy saving lives? You got it, it's Cambodia. Question number 3. Which country does the second fastest woman ever, Shelley Ann Fraser-Pryce, come from? That's right, she's from Jamaica.
Shout outs.
It's June 7, Western Australia Day. It's a public holiday for our friends in the West as they take the day off to commemorate the establishment of the Swan River Colony back in 1829. It's also a special day to these Squiz Kids celebrating a birthday today. Charlie from Goomalling, Orlando from Craigburn, Stella from Five Dock, Anita from Mansfield, Yasmin from West Wallsend, Eunice from Ermington, Will from Cronulla, Tom from Harden, and Reedy, who's listening all the way over there in Bengaluru in India. And today's classroom shout-outs go to Mrs. Kimes' 5K class at St John's Anglican College, Class 3-4 Blue at St John's in Richmond, Class 5W in Borkham Hills North Public School, and Class 6F at St Brendan's Catholic Primary School in Mackay. And a special shout-out to Chase from all your former classmates in Year 1's JHW class at Brunswick North West Primary School. They were so sad that lockdown prevented them from throwing you a goodbye party, and they'll miss you very much. Don't forget, if you've got a birthday coming up and you'll want a shout-out, or if you're after a classroom shout-out, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au. Well, that's all we have time for today. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids. We'll be back again tomorrow. In the meantime, get out there and have a most excellent day. Over and out. Squiz Kids is proudly supported by the Judith Neilson Institute for Journalism and Ideas.
Squiz Kids!
It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.